Hello everyone, my name is Tyler LEVESQUE and I'm the coordinator of esports here at Wichita State University. I'm so excited to bring you the first ever Wichita State University esports podcast. Today I'm joined by Joe MAZZARA, who's the president of the Shocker Gaming Club, and I also have with me Brian Pond, who's the vice president of technology. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Joe, if you don't mind taking a second just to introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Joe MAZZARA. I'm the president of the Shocker Gaming Club. I've been a WSU student for 4 years and I'm studying audio production. And I've been involved with the club for about a year and a half, and I also work with Varsity Esports with Tyler.
Yeah, so Joe has been very pivotal to kind of the development of our program thus far, and so I'm excited to have Joe on the set today with us to talk about all things esports. And Brian, thank you so much for coming today, and if you don't mind just introducing yourself a little bit and talking about what you do at the Y and technology and esports and all of those things.
Sure. So we're in our infancy stages into esports, I would say, but I lead the technology department at the Greater Wichita YMCA, and been there about 3 years, but have greater than 20 years in technology overall, and very happy to be here and have this discussion with you.
Yeah, definitely. So we're very excited to kind of bring the discussion of esports here to the forefront of at Wichita State University. And we've done a lot this past semester in terms of developing a varsity esports program here on campus. So one of the first steps that we took in terms of developing esports here at Wichita State is developing a varsity unit for Wichita State University. So this past semester we've competed in a couple of different gaming events. We've had students across campus join different teams, gone through tryout processes, and different things like that for us to form an actual varsity esports component here at Wichita State University. We're soon going to be building an esports facility housed within the Heskett Center in which students can come together and compete. Casual students, varsity students. If you're a student on campus, soon you'll have the ability to go and play in the Heskett Center. So I'm very excited to introduce that, and hopefully that'll be done in the early stages of the fall. So the conversation we're going to have today involves esports, technology, and the YMCA. So Brian here is helping us, and we're going to promote one of our first events that we're actually going to do through the YMCA, which is a late night, in which WSU Esports, the varsity branch, along with a couple of other key players, are going to promote and run this event for an after-school program that the YMCA regularly runs. So Brian, if you don't mind taking a moment just to kind of explain, I guess, what the plans are for the event and what we're going to do and what that event is going to look like.
Sure. September 14th is the date. We need to, mark that down. It's going to be a big day. What we do every Saturday night, and we've done this for some time now, we open our doors in our South YMCA branch, which is located on South Meridian, and our North branch, which is located on North Woodlawn. We reopen after we close at 8 o'clock to all area high school kids, regardless of their membership status. So every kid's welcome to come in and enjoy the YMCA facilities. It's been an extremely successful program, and but I realize there's a lot of kids that aren't necessarily interested in fitness or traditional sports and those kind of activities that may stay home and participate in games, online in their homes, and they're probably battling a little bit with social isolation or even depression and just different types of things like that the Y has decided to really try to combat and take on. So we came up with this concept to during our late night event, open it up and have an esports themed night. The event has actually gained more traction and attention than I possibly could have imagined. I think it's going to be a major event. But during the night, we're going to feed all the kids that show up. They don't need to bring any money. Just show up, bring your high school ID and a signed waiver from your parent, which will be online. And come and hang out for the night. We're going to do it at our South YMCA. It'll be located in the sports center right behind the Y. And we're doing it back there because we think we're going to have record attendance. So this is a huge facility. We're going to have a platform that's going to be provided by Kent's Audio Video. We have Midwest Esports is going to be providing nearly 100 gaming consoles and systems for the kids to play in free play. We're also probably going to do a Fortnite tournament with all the kids that show up. A lot of these details are still being hammered out, but we think that's going to be huge and very exciting. We've got Coney Island on board. We have an entire steer being donated, which will produce 1,000 some hamburgers for all these kids. And several other sponsors, including Cox Business, Cybertron IT. They're going to be bringing out their CLX gaming systems. They'll be on display and in use. The kids will be able to play on those systems while they're out there. just, tremendous sponsorship and interest in this event. And we think it's going to be a great time for all the kids that come out. We're going to also, WSU, your team is going to be there and playing, on a platform and being there to talk to the kids and talk to them about, esports and how it relates to college and future, career interests and so forth. So, and then I think we're going to have a couple other special guests that we'll have to announce it at a later time once those details are finalized. But it's setting up to potentially be a very big night.
I was very, very excited when Brian kind of came to me with this idea that we would have the ability to interact with the YMCA at this level, because I know for us and the YMCA in Wichita, the Y plays such a key role in the overall kind of development of Wichita, and they're such a key kind of stakeholder in the community. And so I was excited to hear that they had a growing interest in esports, and I was very eager to find out how we could help in any sort of capacity. So this event that's coming up, we're extremely excited to help out with it. We're going to have our varsity players, our varsity teams at this event. We're going to be mentoring some of the students. We're going to be talking about some of the gameplay that they may not necessarily ever really be exposed to. And we're going to have the students interacting with the after-school kids, and we're just really excited to see where this event's going to go and the relationship that we have, and kind of see where that goes in the future. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of slide it over to Joe. And I'm going to ask Joe, I guess, what his experience has been on campus as a student just with esports, and how his interest in esports kind of led him to being the president of the Shocker Gaming Club.
Yeah, so I came to this campus in the spring of 2015, and I knew absolutely nothing about esports. I'd always played video games on consoles or played casually or whatever it was, but my current girlfriend, got me involved. We stayed up really late and watched Worlds 2017 for League of Legends, and I was just instantly hooked. And from that point on, I was like, what can I do? I got involved with the club. I attended a convention in the EEV. I spoke with the then president, Anthony Vu, and got involved as a team captain. And I started playing competitively, and I was absolutely hooked. It was a passion of mine. Like, I played traditional sports competitively in my childhood, and I found another competitive outlet for myself. As I took the competitive side more seriously, I really enjoyed managing the team as a captain and scheduling practices, and I had a little bit of a talent for it. I just rose through the ranks of the management of that and became the president, and got really involved with the community and trying to make it better and get more people involved on the commuter campus.
That's really exciting to hear. I know for a lot of our students here on campus that a lot of their interest is very organic. And so when I say that WSU Esports, we exist because of the student interest on campus. And so I was very excited to kind of have this relationship with the Shocker Gaming Club, in which we could really sort of look at this situation of esports on campus and start to develop an infrastructure in which students can be involved. They can start to have tournaments on campus, and we can really start to take this movement and kind of capitalize on this movement. So I'm going to move back over to Brian here really quickly. And Brian, I'd love for you to just kind of explain the arc of technology at the YMCA, kind of some of the recent, the movement that you've seen at the Y, and how you've seen it move in terms of just, I guess, people becoming more accepting of technology within the YMCA.
Yeah, it's a great topic. So, the Y generally, tries to kind of resist screen time, activities that put kids in front of screens as well as adults, young adults as well. I think we know that, most teens are in front of a screen about 9 hours a day, which we certainly aren't wanting to promote that, but at the same time, I think we can all recognize it's not going to go away. It's a part of adult life, it's part of business life and everything else. So, we're just trying to find ways to leverage that and still promote healthy lifestyles and activity, to break that sedentary lifestyle a little bit, to provide something different. We're doing a lot with virtual fitness classes now. You can walk into a lot of our studios, and there's virtual instructors there, so you could walk in any time of the day and take that yoga class or do some sort of a high-intensity workout while you're in there. So that's one of the things that we're doing. You'll see throughout the branches, there's more and more technology showing up. There's more screens and things like that, but the screens are strategically located, to promote physical activity at the same time while you're consuming some sort of, your Netflix or whatever it might be that you're interested in.
Was there a time at the YMCA in which you kind of started to see esports and this topic kind of come up, and what did that conversation look like in terms of, when did the first, I guess, inkling of esports and technology, when did it start to become maybe a little more accepted? When did you think that this was a possibility that we could really start to maybe have this event?
Well, what I found interesting was when we first started doing the late night events, I have a high school son, And, and he has, of course, high school friends. And I would talk to him about our late night event. And, I know a lot of kids are interested in that, but my son, doesn't participate in many, physical traditional sport type activities. So it was never really a hit with him, which surprised me. But he'd go down to his room and play Fortnite, for a few hours or something like that. So that's when it kind of started making sense to me that there's an entire group of kids. In fact, I think it's a larger group of kids than we'd ever imagine that play those games. Only a certain number of kids play soccer, for example, but almost every kid in high school is playing Fortnite. So it's just those kind of realizations that I think, we just have to kind of take in and figure out what's our position in all that and how can we, help create healthy lifestyles for those teens that enjoy gaming so much.
So Joe, I'm going to ask you this question, and Brian, I'm going to ask you to also answer this question as well. But Joe, for you as a student who's played games so consistently throughout college, how important do you think it is to have a healthy balance of physical and working out along with playing esports or playing video games, at a high level?
I think it's essential. I've experienced a lot of, well, not a lot of, but my fair share of wrist pains from playing. That just comes from, a lot of interactivity with the game. But I think it's really essential to start keeping your joints healthy. There's pro players who are having to miss games because of joint issues. So it's really important to keep your kinetic fitness while you're sitting and playing and being attentive.
So Brian, for the YMCA, how do you think because the YMCA is in a very unique position in which they can manage something like the esports movement. So where do you think the YMCA can step in terms of helping mitigate some of these issues along with capitalizing on such a huge student interest?
Right. So I don't actually have an answer just yet. We're trying to figure out a lot of those components. I know there's certainly some educational components where the Y can step in and educate parents on their kids gaming and how to maintain that healthy lifestyle with their children. So we're still learning a lot. I think after this event, based on the interest we anticipate it's going to generate, we'll learn a whole lot about maybe where the Y can fit in and if the Y actually can become a place where you can socially and personally play, games with your family. I know there's a lot of family units that like to game. Is this potentially a place where those kind of activities can happen in the future? Inside of a fitness facility or a YMCA. So it's interesting. We're learning a whole lot. Learning a lot through you and the WSU Esports program, as well as the high schools in the area who are kind of taking it all in, just like the Y is, trying to figure out how do we support this in the most healthy way.
I think it's very interesting because here on campus, especially through WSU Esports, we've done a very good job in terms of setting up an infrastructure in which students can be a part of a varsity team and compete at a high level, but we also make sure that they're taking care of themselves in a variety of ways. And so for us, we're extremely excited to offer the varsity experience, but also have students staying physically healthy, mentally healthy, emotionally healthy. And so that was one of the key components that we really kind of keyed in on when we went to build this program. So Brian, I'm going to come back to you one more time. What kind of role do you think technology can play for these after-school programs? How important do you think it is that these kids are exposed to this type of technology at these after-school events?
I think it's extremely important. If you look, you can look at the workforce, right, which is ultimately where these high school kids are going to be entering in the next, few years. They're going to go to college or work or the military. You look at those statistics, in Wichita alone, the median income is just under $40,000. The median income of a technology specialist or a technology person is just under $75,000. So that's about a 68% difference, in a technology field, in the technology field versus every other field. So I think anything we can do to support that and help drive more of our Wichita kids into higher paying jobs with the more promising future and that are in demand. Another interesting thing is, if you look to some of the security companies, security software companies such as McAfee, during the interview process, one of the more important elements of that is around gaming. They'll ask the interviewee about their gaming history, how long they play, what level they're at, what kind of games they play, and they're trying to learn more about that strategic thinking, and because it directly applies, as we talk about applied learning, but it directly applies to the job that they're applying for. So We know that in 2020, there's anticipated to be 1.4 million job vacancies in software development. Those are all high-paying jobs. And I think anything we can do to help prepare the kids, in a responsible and healthy way, prepare them through technology for that type of career, I think we're all going to be better for it, especially our local community.
Definitely. I for sure agree, and I know as somebody who's been coordinating this esports movement so far here on campus, I know that this type of exposure to technology and the applied learning opportunities that you can offer through an esports program is pivotal to the development of that student. So Joe, I'm going to move kind of back to you here, in which, as a student who's been a part of esports since you first got on campus and being the president of the club now, what kind of role has esports played in shaping you as a student?
So I would say before the club, I didn't really have a big social life on campus. I think a lot of people have in their mind, they have this image of kids being alone, playing on their consoles at home, but the landscape of video games has completely changed, and it's a very, very social ecosystem. I mean, every game has a community, and they call it community, and that's what we are on campus, is the community of communities. So we kind of are the top level that encompasses that, and it's become just a huge positive in my life, especially with the amount of people I've connected. I mean, we have 300 people in our Discord server, so there's just a lot of people to talk to, a lot of people to interact with. We're getting kids back on campus that were just going home after class, and they're sticking around and playing games or playing in our tabletop night or competing in our tournaments. So I think it's impacted me greatly to see how much we can impact students locally, and I feel a pretty good sense of pride about that. And it's also impacted me personally with the friendships and relationships that I've built with people on campus.
That's really great to hear, because I know for us, we are extremely excited to be working with these students and to be competing at a high level and helping them manage their schedules and helping them manage their esports interest. And for us, we know that it's extremely important to make sure that we're doing these types of things. So Brian, I guess one of the last questions that I have for you is, you play such a key role in the growth of technology at the YMCA. If you were to be given the next 5 to 7 years, where would you like technology to kind of move at the YMCA?
Well, I think it's important just to let the technology, drive and work in the same direction as what the YMCA is trying to do, which is, YMCA is great at building communities and strengthening communities and allowing people and kids, to reach their full potential. So anywhere we can apply technology to support those kinds of initiatives is amazing. It's incredibly rewarding for me, when we see that happen. That's kind of the way I feel about this late night event that we're working on. I think, we're going to provide a great night. In fact, to quote one of the sponsors, he said, they're all in, and he said, we're going to provide whatever we need to provide to make sure this is the most memorable night these high school kids have. Statements like that are just incredible, and it tells me how much the community values, the youth in this area, and how much they're willing to do for them.
So I know we're really excited to be partnering with the YMCA to promote this event, and we're so very excited to have these students coming back onto campus and competing at a very high level. We just introduced 2 new varsity teams, so Counter-Strike and League of Legends are now housed on Wichita State University's campus. So moving into the fall, we're going to have WSU Esports orientation. We're going to have varsity teams competing at practices every Monday, Wednesday, and Tuesday, Thursday for 2 hours at a time. And so I'm extremely excited to offer true infrastructure for this varsity program. So thank you so much for tuning in to our first ever WSU Esports podcast. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Brian, for coming on today. It's been a great conversation. And yeah, tune into the next one.
Thanks.